Don't even get me started on Tommy Lee's song Brandon.
Don't need you having a heart attack on your own show.
1989 is one of the greatest years in hair metal history.
A band's going to evolve by playing music that was popular 25 years ago.
Oh, it's just like I'm getting embarrassed for him right now.
The song is goofy. The lyrics are terrible.
Are two of the best songs in Motley's entire repertoire. Ooh, can anybody spell repertoire?
I'd rather be dead than listen to this song again. Is it
Apparently my mindset is a little too juvenile because when I hear Mama Told Me Not to Come.
And that second album just was not like the debut. Not even close.
Like, I'm 51 years old. You would think at some point you'd stop finding shit like that funny.
No, son, not yet.
Hold on, I'm not ready. The new Sweet FA, shit. And then I got it and it was shit.
What, in your free time you stick red hot pokers up your ass because you don't like it?
Fucking ever to edit. So Bryan and I, oh shit.
Air the balloons, congratulations.
What did I do?
2,000 subscribers.
This?
I'm too talented, I don't need fucking special effects.
Like, hey Guru, how come you're single? Well shit, I don't know.
Mama told me not to come.
Look, I came here to do two things. Chew bubblegum and talk hair metal. And it looks like I'm almost out of bubblegum. Welcome to the Hair Metal Guru special episode. Like, they're all special when you have Bryan from the hair band Basement on. And today we are going to be talking about albums that were highly anticipated but disappointing. And so I want to make sure that people understand it's not flops. Some of these may have sold well, but the general public was like, yeah, here we go. And then when it came out, it was like, eh. So Bryan from the hair band Basement, welcome to the show again. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me again. Let me plug my shit. I sound like I'm a celebrity. I got stuff to plug now. But you can see find me on X at HB Basement. I have a show on Station Head. Download the app. You can listen to the deepest of tracks, rarest of bands, little known songs from the biggest named artists from before, during, and after the Decade of Decadence. I don't play a single, so if you like this stuff, you can listen to the stuff that you don't hear on the radio anymore. Every end of the month, the last show of the month, I play a special theme show. So this is Wednesday. So if you catch it in a couple of days, since it's the last show of the month, I'll be doing all live tracks. So check it out. If you miss any episodes, it's all on there. Download the app. You can hear the recorded shit. And that's pretty much. And congratulations on 2,000 subscribers.
Yeah. Hey, so thank you for mentioning that. The channel just hit 2,000 subscribers, man. And when I started this thing 10 months ago and I put out a video ranking the Warrant albums, I never, ever thought that I would be that the channel would be where it is now. So everybody, man, thank you so much. I appreciate it. So
yeah, get some balloons up there. How the fuck you do the balloons? What the fuck you gotta do to get balloons? There you go.
There we go. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, I got talent. I don't need fucking special
something.
Effects.
I don't know how to get the balloons going, but
anyway. Yeah, I've been there since that first Warrant video. Watched every episode. And I said, like I told you before, it's weird being on this show because I watch you talk and I feel like I'm watching an episode. I go, oh shit, I got to say something. I'm on the show. So,
right.
Yeah, it's been a cool ride for you.
So while I'm saying that, thanks to Bryan and the Ryan, Metal Mike, and my buddy Jones who did a bit. So everybody that's come on the show, man, thank you. So, okay. So here's some more shit. This is one of my prized possessions, and I hate the fucking light.
Cool.
This is, I don't know if you can see it, but it says Cinderella's Night Songs, the double packed power of double platinum. So this is in from 70 or 87, excuse me, when Night Songs went double platinum. It's one of my favorite framed items. So some vintage Cinderella. You might be hearing a little bit more about Cinderella later. And hey, while I'm doing this, would love it. Hey, if you haven't subscribed and you like this kind of shit, subscribe, like, comment, and special shout out to my members who are, it does cost a little bit of money. I hate fucking saying that, but if you want to be a member, you get extra benefits, extra videos, or don't. But thank you to all my members. Now, Bryan.
Hold on, before you get to that, let me say something about the Cinderella, because on X, some people were saying that a couple days ago, Long Cold Winter came out, and it didn't. It came out on the 4th. But someone, I don't know if you've seen the picture. It was a picture of them. I don't know if it was a promo picture, and it showed them on horses in like a snowy forest. And even Metal Mike was like, "Why isn't this the cover instead of the white cover?" And I said, "Because Cinderella on horses looks goofy, and it just looks so stupid. I'm glad they didn't go with that." But yeah, that Cinderella frame thing is pretty cool. That is definitely cool.
I actually have a vintage poster of that where it's Cinderella, they're out in the snow and they're on like horses and shit. I think the horse is kind of stupid, but
if you're singing country influence metal, then yeah, go with the cowboy thing. When you're doing blues, you're in a shack in the bayou, next to some swamp or something. That doesn't make any sense.
Sure. Okay. So, all right. Talking about highly anticipated hair metal albums that were disappointment. We decided to only go with 5 because our episodes lately have been running close to 2 hours, and these things take fucking ever to edit. So Bryan and I, oh shit.
Air the balloons. Congratulations. 2,000 subscribers.
I still don't know how to do that, but
you got to watch your own videos and figure it out.
So we decided to go with 5 each. So with that, Bryan, what is your number 5 hair metal album that was a disappointment?
All right. My first one, I mentioned this band when we did killer intro songs. And this was Sweet F. Yeah. My first disappointing one was Sweet FA's second album, Temptation.
Yep.
I remember loving that first album. I remember going to a record store, I was in college. I got this and Danger Danger's Screw It and put this on and was like, what am I listening to? This isn't as killer as the other one. I mean, some songs I do like. Liquid Emotion I like, Indiana Heart, 1-800 Tequila Sunrise was good, and their cover of Mama Told Me Not to Come isn't bad, so the second half is better. But man, listening to this one, I was like, what the fuck happened? Want to share with the rest of the class, Guru?
I have that CD. Did you just say that the song was called Mama Told Me Not to Come?
That's the name of the song. It's the name of the song. Is it
apparently my mindset is a little too juvenile because when I hear Mama Told Me Not to Come,
they spelled it differently than what you're thinking. Oh my God. No, son, not yet.
Hold on, I'm not ready. That's what I'm thinking. A couple more minutes. Okay.
No, that's the name of the song. Wow, I was not expecting that reaction. Holy shit. But yeah, this album, it was just like, I remember playing it and I was like, this isn't the same. The vibe is different. The sound is different. I'll tell you right now, I played Screw It by Danger Danger way more than I played Temptation. And yeah, that first half, it doesn't have that same raw energy they had in the debut.
Yeah.
I remember that out of my list. That's the one I was really like, oh, no. And back then, CDs cost $5 more than the cassette. So you're just like, fuck, I just got this CD and it's going to collect dust now.
Yeah. I have both of those CDs and the debut is shockingly better.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, everybody says you get forever to write the first album, you get two weeks to write the second one. So I'm assuming, a lot of these bands were pushed right back into they toured, pushed right back into the studio, like, hurry up, you got to get going while the iron's hot. And they just, you don't have it in you to crank out. I mean, you can crank out filler, but to crank out something that's going to reach the masses.
And yeah, this one came out the year after the debut. So yeah, there's not a lot of time there. No. And I think only 3 of the members from the debut were on the album. I know they got, I think it was some studio guy to play bass. And some of the stuff he played wasn't bad. Like the bass on Liquid Emotion is pretty cool, but you don't have the same guys with you. Yeah, like you said, you had your whole life to write that debut. and things change, and now it's a job where you got to meet deadlines and get things done. You got studio guys coming in, and it's just not the same. And that second album just was not like the debut, not even close. I love that debut.
I just passed an ad for that Temptation album, and I remember seeing that and being like, yes, the new Sweet FA, shit. And then I got it and it was shit.
Yeah, I think the second half has some stronger songs, but the first half was just like, I'm not going to say it sucks, but it just was not reaching any expectations I had for that second album at all.
Right. And
my number 5. That's my
start. So they spelled it COME.
Yes, yes. Like, don't arrive, not okay.
I gotta get my mind. Like I'm 51 years old. You would think at some point you'd stop finding shit like that funny.
Fucking cut the shit.
Apparently not.
Like Basement Bryan said, "Come to."
Like, hey, Guru, how come you're single? Well, shit, I don't know.
I don't know.
Getting more obvious. All right. My number.
It's all them. It's not you.
Yeah. I don't. What the fuck is wrong with people these days?
Who am I? What, a matchmaker?
So my number 5 came out in 1998. It's from your favorite band. And I've always said, like, okay, I'm a Van Halen fan. I wasn't like, oh shit, Van Halen, but I always liked all the Van Halen albums, and I liked the Sammy ones and I liked the Dave ones. But then in 1998, you get Gary Cherone. Gary Cherone comes from a phenomenal band, Extreme. He's joining a band that has the world's greatest guitar player in it, and what, Michael Anthony on bass, this great background singer, one of the best drummers, Alex Van Halen. So the anticipation, I thought, and even though this is 98, you're thinking, hey, I remember thinking maybe Van Halen is going to fucking save rock and roll here. And so the first single comes out, Without You. And I wasn't like wholly disappointed. I thought the chorus wasn't bad. It was kind of catchy. But then you start getting into the album and there's some of it's like fucking horrible. And so I'm going to say this, and I tried to say this to Ryan once, and I think I didn't say it right. And maybe you can help me out with this. I read an interview where David Lee Roth said that even though Eddie is maybe the best guitarist in the world, David Lee Roth said that he was responsible for coming up with like the melodies and taking snippets of the other guy's shit and turning it into songs. Sammy Hagar, I'm being completely honest, said the same thing. He said that he would combine all the other guys' parts to make what eventually came out on Van Halen records. And so then they were both, and I think they were going on that heavyweight championship of the world tour where they were both touring together, if you remember that, Dave and Sammy. Because and so they were trying to make the point that even though Eddie's awesome, they created the songs. And that's why when 3 came out, it was a shit show, because Gary wasn't going to be like, hey, all right, I'm going to do all this. And it just became this mishmash of shit. Okay, now respond.
Yeah, a lot of people. First of all, Michael Anthony, I think, only played on 3 songs. I think Gary Cherone wrote the lyrics. So it's one of the reasons why they put him on board, because of his writing skills.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of people call Van Halen 3 an Eddie Van Halen solo record.
Right.
He did a lot of that stuff. When you say take bits from everyone else, is like David Lee Roth strumming something on a guitar and then Eddie's using it, or is he taking vocals and then?
No, I'm just saying like Eddie has a riff, but he takes the riff and creates the song structure.
Okay. All right,
You
yeah.
know, we're gonna start with this. We're gonna add this, and I need something from you, Michael Anthony. And does that make sense? Like
Yeah, no, that's yeah, I
organizing
get,
the song.
because yeah, an example of that, when Sammy first joined Van Halen, he gets like a call and he's in the middle of the night, like from Eddie Van Halen, go check this out. I think it was over the phone. He's playing a riff for him. That was the opening riff to the song 5150.
Okay.
And I think I've heard that he comes up like supposedly in his studio now. He's got all sorts of riffs and licks that he just record and just left the stuff there, never did anything with it.
Right.
If you look at the was the the last album, Different Kind of Truth. A lot of that stuff is old songs or stuff that he wrote back when he was younger, decided to make songs out of it. I know the last song on 1984, House of Pain, was an old song that was written before the first album came out. So I'm sure he's had a lot of shit just sitting there, and let's piece the stuff together.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to focus on Michael Anthony here. He would get a lot of shit from the rest of the band. There was one story
I've heard
after a show, they're all eating dinner, and dead silence towards the end. They're all just fucking at each other's throats. And supposedly David Lee Roth got up, took his plate, slammed it down on Michael Anthony's plate, got in his face, says, "The fuck do you do for this band?" And shit like that is like, I mean, there's been accusations that he didn't play bass, and the Eddie Van Halen even said, "I write the bass lines for him," which I don't think that's true. I can't. If you listen to his bass lines, I can't see a guitarist coming up with stuff like that. It doesn't seem like a guitarist kind of bass line.
I heard Sammy Hagar respond to that, and he said that's bullshit. He said,
I heard that too.
No, but I have heard that that was said during the during the Roth years, but Sammy was like, no, that's not my experience. So
yeah, and that was at one point there actually was a contract where I think it was Michael Anthony was going to get cut off from all any kind of royalties from writing anything, because they were like, all right. Supposedly that never went through, though, was signed and everything, but they never really followed through. I think Sammy even said, yeah, that was bullshit. We never did that to him. We remember the band, we paid him like anyone else. But yeah, that record specifically, I almost had that on my list. And then I was like, I already did that for the flops. And then I came close to putting OU812 on the list. I remember getting that and being disappointed, especially after the catalog with David Lee Roth. And then you had 5150, which is a great album, except for Inside. That song stinks. And then OU812 came out, and I was like, there's some good songs, but a lot of this is like, I don't know. And then For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge came out after that, which is a way better album. But yeah, I almost had Van Halen on my list for one of those two albums. Yeah. I think OU812 grew on me over time. Right. Van Halen 3, nah, I can't listen to that. I just can't. You like the single was decent. I couldn't name any other song off that album. I can't put my ears through such torture. Basically, it's like I want to remember the better shit, not this. But yeah, that's a good pick though, because Gary Cherone just didn't, at least on the new album, I didn't think really clicked with the band. And then again, was there a band to click with if Eddie's running everything?
Yeah.
But you listen to him sing like old stuff live from the previous albums. He's good. He's doing it.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Yeah,
the new stuff.
I'm sure Gary just had to do what he was told. I'm sure he was.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's try this. He's just like, okay, whatever you say, master.
Wasn't gonna say fuck you, Eddie. You know who I am.
Yeah. But I heard
Cherone.
He sounded great on that tour. I mean, the guy's a fucking great singer. But
yeah. So they did line. They were planning to have a second album with him, and then after the sales were just so disappointed, like, nah, we're not doing this.
Okay, we are on to your number 4. What do you got?
All right, my number 4. This band has come up a few times on the show, whether I'm here or not. But it's Girls, Girls, Girls by Motley Crue. And I'm going to start by saying that their first 2 albums are great. Classic hair metal albums. Theater of Pain, I mean, Home Sweet Home was a big hit and kind of started the whole ballad thing in the mid-'80s. The cover of Smoke in the Boys Room was big. A lot of that album was like, meh. This one was even more meh. I mean, Starts off with 22 of their best songs, the title Wild Side and then the title track. Great songs, and then it drops off. Because the follow-up is Dancing on Glass. You're just like, oh, okay. And then Bad Boy Big Boogie, which is like, ugh, this is shit soup. And then it's followed up by Nona. What the fuck is that? I don't know what that's even supposed to be. Was I live and I die without you? I'd rather be dead than listen to this song again. And
Montage.
And that album is just, I said this before. That's the result of having cocaine as one of your co-writers. It's just, it's so much, I don't know what, yes men around them doing blow, and then you get Nona. What the hell?
Isn't Jailhouse Rock on that?
Yes, that's the last song on the album, which isn't bad. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, in this fucking cup of diarrhea, it's a fucking diamond compared to most of this album. This is easily my least favorite, Crue album from their first 4 or 5, easily. And it's just like, you started off strong with those first two songs, and then just took a death spiral all the way down to the bottom. It's like, ugh, what happened, guys?
We have talked about Motley Crue, but I don't think anything from their 80s output has ever, usually we talk about it in glowing terms. So
yeah,
I mean, that's an interesting take. Now I'll say, like, I was always disappointed in Theater of Pain. Like I probably liked Smoking in the Boys' Room when I was a kid, but now I'm like, oh, that's kind of a fucking stupid cover. I mean, Home Sweet Home was a really good ballad, but I think I've always said that I really liked Girls, 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 but I think it's just because of those 2 fucking songs.
Yeah.
Are 2 of the best songs in Motley's entire repertoire. Ooh, can anybody spell repertoire? But yeah, after that, I kind of find that I'm like, okay, I got through the 2 songs. I don't really need to go much further. So
I don't remember what's on the second side. I couldn't even, I top of my head, I have no idea what songs are on the second side.
Isn't You're All I Need on that album?
Yes,
So
it is.
Even though that's kind of a dark ballad, like it's about killing somebody, I actually do kind of like that song.
All right, that one's not too bad. I'm trying to look here, because I don't goddamn remember most of this album after those first 2 songs. So Something for Nothing was another one. I'm looking right here on Apple. Ah, shit, that's not the right one. Where the hell is it? God damn it. Here, this is what you get, subscribers, the excitement of me looking at my phone for fucking song titles. So 5 Years Dead, all in the name of, that's not a bad tune. That's all right.
Yeah.
Something for Nothing, You're All I Need, like you said, then Jailhouse Rock. Yeah, it's just some are okay songs. A lot of it is like bluff, and like you said, I guess we both said those first 2 songs are great.
Right.
Great songs, which I think they'll be playing live until the day they die. Not so much for Nona.
I remember an interview when I'm sure it was Nikki Sixx. He said, if we hadn't had Wild Side and Girls, 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 that album may have like broke the band. Like, they might have, because they needed to have a hit, and luckily is like, okay, we had 2 songs, but I think the band kind of universally says, hey, outside of those 2, it's kind of a shit show. So
yeah, it's just then once they kind of cleaned up and then pumped out Dr. Feelgood, they got some of that old school stuff back. But I part of me just feels like it was almost like they were getting really big, and they were just like, all right, whatever we do, okay. I doubt when they were in the studio we're saying, we need a couple of hits because this band sucks. I mean, not the band, this album sucks.
Right.
But yeah, it was just disappointing.
Okay, my number 4. So in 1987, White Lion explodes with their second album. A lot of people still, I don't think, know that they had an album out before Pride. In fact, I remember when it came out, I just assumed that Pride was their debut. But 1987, Wait, Tell Me, fucking When the Children Cry goes to number 3. That album goes double platinum. and you know, Vito Bratta is being talked about like shit, the second coming of Eddie Van Halen. You know, and the guy is an amazing, and we've talked about how amazing he is on guitar. And so they put out the follow-up Big Game in 1989, and we're all jacked. And 1989 is one of the greatest years in hair metal history. So it's not like it wasn't going to be given a shot. It was. And the first single comes out, and I'll be honest, I fucking love Little Fighter.
Oh yeah, great tune.
Great song, amazing guitar riff, it rocks, you know, cool lyrics. But then you get past that and it's just all downhill. So I was listening because I haven't listened to that in forever. And I'm like, I got to listen to this so I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Dirty Woman is a shit show. Then there's a ballad called Broken Home. And I'm like, you know, I love ballads and Mike Tramp doing ballads, but Broken Home is When the Children Cry Part 2. You know, it's about a kid who's got, you know, it's the same thing. When the Children Cry Part 2. There's a song called Baby Be Mine that is just embarrassing. Now, I did what was the cover called again? Radar Love.
Radar Love. Mama
Radar
told me.
Love is good, but it's a cover. So the one song, the one original song that is on there, it's great, is Little Fighter. But after that I think that album, everybody was jacked about it, and it came out and it was a huge disappointment, which then led to their phenomenal third album kind of not doing shit. Whereas if Big Game had top-notch songs on that, that would have kept them going. The main attraction would have been a hit, but Big Game was a big disappointment.
Yeah, I agree. I think, yeah, Little Fighter's a great tune. I love that cover of Radar Love. I almost said Radar Come just to get you to laugh again and spit out your fucking drink.
Mama, what is it? Mama, don't let me
Mama
come.
told me not to come.
Mama told me not to come. That's gonna be in my head for the rest of the fucking week, I'm sure.
Ugh. But and what's the first song? Coming Home? That's not too bad of a song either.
The first track is decent. I can't remember what it's called. I remember like going, hey,
it's Coming Home. Oh, wait. Going Home. I think it's going. I'll be going home to yeah. And what was the last tune? Cry for Freedom? Was that
Cry
the name
for
of it?
Freedom?
I felt that was their try to redo When the Children Cry attempt there, and it did not work. It was just like, guys, come on. Like you said, the best songs were one, the lead single, and then a cover.
Yep.
Which again, that cover's great. I love that cover. But yeah, you put that on, and you were like, no, this is nothing like the first two albums. And I was like you. I didn't know that Pride was their second album until I saw them in a concert in it was on MTV. It was a show at the Ritz, and they played Broken Heart. What's the name of it? Yeah, Broken Heart. And they said this is off our first album. And I was like, wait, what? They have another album?
Right.
And that's a good album too.
Yeah.
That's a really good album too. But yeah, Big Game just didn't cut it.
No.
And like you said, they were rushed. They were rushed to do it.
Yep.
And you can hear it.
And in my opinion, that destroyed their career because the follow-up should have been great. And it sold like shit. And then Vito Bratta's never been seen again. Mike Tramp has done a bunch of solo albums and he's tried to reform White Lion, but damn, they were a talented band. Mike Tramp made my top 10 hair metal vocalists of all time. If I did a hair metal guitarist, Vito Bratta would obviously be near the top. But
I agree with that.
Big Game kind of, I feel like that was the turning point and began the downslide. Maybe if they had covered Mama Told Me Not to Come, it would have been sold much better. Okay, that's my number 4.
Oh, it's like
number 3.
It's like fucking music with a 14-year-old. All right, my next one.
What can I do?
We need balloons. Got balloons or something? Get some shit going on here.
Fuck, they got it. I thought it was this.
You look like the guy who dropped out of wizard school that Harry Potter went to when you're doing all this shit.
Hey,
all right, my number 3. What was that?
I'm all man, all right?
Oh, wow. Okay, I'm not doubting any of that. But Did Mama tell you to come or not? That's the question. All right, my number 3. This was on your list for flops, and I remember seeing the video for the first single off this album. It was the follow-up to Def Leppard's Hysteria, and it's Adrenalize. And I remember 5 years after Hysteria came out, you see the video for Let's Get Rocked, and I remember watching it in college, and we're like, oh, cool, let's check this out. And I'm like, what is this? The song is goofy. The lyrics are terrible. And even the video itself at the time in 91 looked dated already.
Yeah.
And that goofy computerized kid running around all weird and janky. And that was enough for me to be like, I'm not getting this fucking album. I just couldn't be bothered. But then a lot of the songs just weren't, like they tried, I think they tried to do Hysteria 2.
Yep.
And it just didn't work. I mean, some of those songs just don't click, and I just can't. I just can't. It's like I think the only one good song is "Tear It Down." I mean, it might be easily the best song off the album.
Yep.
But like, what was the ballad off of that? Not Two Steps Behind.
Have you ever needed someone so bad?
Ugh. I mean, it's not Love Bites, bucket of crap.
Yeah.
But it's still like, all right. And then they Make Love Like a Man. I don't know what that even means. And it was just so many of these things where it was like, I don't know what's going on here. And yeah, I mean, when Hysteria was out, I was all on board, wore out that cassette.
Yeah.
And loved that album. I mean, as time went on, it kind of sounds dated to me. And it's like a good 4 or 5 songs I'll skip. But Adrenalize, I'm not putting that thing on. I didn't listen to the whole thing. No way. There's no way. I got better things to do with my time.
I liked it when it came out. You know, I was 18 or 19 or whatever. So I was, you know, even though like Let's Get Rocked would come on and I'd be like, oh, this is kind of cheesy. But I'd be like, yeah, right. But it aged so bad. Make Love Like a Man? I mean, you know, when you're 19, you're probably, make love like a man. But now it's like, oh, what were you thinking?
Yeah, what does that mean? What?
Bryan, if you don't know what make love like a man means.
I don't. I only have one kid, so I guess I got it right once.
Yep. Apparently, Mama told him to come. What's up?
Yeah, I give. Oh God, this is gonna be the running theme throughout the whole goddamn show.
Come on, fucker. What is? This.
What was that? That's that. Yeah. You get that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a bad rave.
Yeah. I apologize for my immaturity. I'm gonna try to do better. There you go. All right.
I was gonna listen to Pour Some Sugar on Me and be like, all right, I get it.
My number 3. This will be the second Motley Crue album that we're going to be talking about.
Oh shit.
In 1997, shit. Okay, let's back up. In 89, we get Dr. Feelgood. Great album. You know, there's some shit on it. Like I Hate Without You, but overall great album. And the public agrees. 6 million copies. You get a greatest hits. Primal Scream. I thought, hey, here's a interest, like a newish sound. So I was like, that bodes well for the future for Motley Crue. Then, okay, they break up, but you get 1994 with John Corabi. Definitely a different sound, definitely influenced by the times, but I fucking love that album. So I'm sure that when Vince comes back and they're putting out Generation Swine, I'm like, we are going to get the best of 94, and they're going to combine it with kind of that punky sound of Primal Scream, the best of. So I was fucking stoked and bought that shit on the day it came out. And what the fuck did they do? But put out a discombobulated mess of every. You got some Marilyn Manson, you got some 90s grunge, you got some electronica. Don't even get me started on Tommy Lee's song Brandon. First lyrics in the history of lyrics. Something like I'm gonna put the lyric, but like we made a baby we made a baby inside you. He's talking about Pam. And oh, it's just like I'm getting embarrassed for him right now.
Mama
That's
told me not to come, and then and then you ended up coming
well, if you ever seen Tommy's business, yeah, nobody's telling him not to come. Okay, so
God. Oh.
anyway, so now I'll be honest. I actually do kind of like the song Afraid. It was different, but I was like, oh, it's kind of catchy. Like, all right, it's not horrible. But then, like I said, there's no cohesiveness. It's not like, okay, this is what we're aiming for, because it was so much shit. It's like they just threw shit on the wall and waited for something to stick, and nothing did. It's a shit show.
Yeah, that's pretty much the best way of putting it. It's a discombobulated mess. I don't know what they were doing. It just seemed like, let's try and play 5 different genres on the one album and see what happens. Well, we know what happens. You get a steaming pile of crap. That's what happened. And I think maybe I listened to that album once.
Oh,
Never went back to it. I'm like, I don't know what this is. It's just so convoluted and confusing, and I don't know what they were thinking. I really don't know what they were thinking. Because yeah, when Vince was supposed to come back, you're like, all right, let's take that kind of writing and attitude from the '94 album, but also have that sound and feeling of earlier Crue.
Yep.
And we just got something that Marilyn Manson wouldn't even wipe that out of his ass. I'm saying her ass, this guy. And it was just like, what the hell is that? Because I don't know. To me, it seems like Crue is constantly trying to evolve, and that means copying what's popular.
Yep.
And it just doesn't work. Even with the latest song, it's like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah,
man, put out something like you used to do. Yeah. I get they're older. They're not the same people. You know, you mature, or you don't, have going through the same stuff that you didn't experience and all that. But God, like, why? I don't understand. Like, are you too good to write something along the lines of Livewire,
right,
or Shout Out the Devil? I mean, it doesn't have to be the same content, but you gotta have it in you somewhere. I mean, but no, it's always. I think it started with that Generation Swine album, where they were like, let's just try to keep up. 894, it worked. But I think they had a guy that can contribute to make that work.
Yep.
I don't think Vince can't. He just didn't do it. He just didn't do it on that album.
I did, and I'll put a thing in, but like I reviewed Dogs of War. I absolutely shit on it. It's horrible. So I was like, you know what? I haven't done it forever. I need to go listen to New Tattoo, because I know that New Tattoo at least kind of like it was kind of like they were trying to do what the 80s Motley, Hell on High Heels or whatever it was called. So they were attempting that, and I enjoyed that. So maybe I'm talking about as far as the new shit. Maybe they're thinking, well, fuck, we tried to do the 80s shit, it didn't work. So, but still, I remember hearing an interview with John Corabi, because they started writing Generation Swine with Corabi. And then the record company was like, dudes, you can't put out another album with him. You need Vince back because the ship is sinking. So, but Corabi was saying the writing process was a discombobulated mess. He'd be like, I'm sitting there and Tommy's going, hey, try to do like Pantera here. And then Nikki Sixx is going, but add some lush melodies like Manic Street Preachers. And he's like, I don't even know who these fucking bands are. And you're trying to get me like, how about we just write what we do instead of. So when I heard that interview, I'm like, that's what Generation Swine sounds like. Hey, try to be like this band, try to be like that band. And so none of it fucking clicked. And that's kind of the end of Motley Crue, because after '94, there's nothing that's grabbed me.
Yeah, and I think part of the catch-22 is trying to sound like old Motley Crue. You're gonna constantly be compared to it, and people go, "Oh, they're just trying to do what was popular." So I can see in a way they're not gonna win regardless, but I'd rather see them try to do old Crue than whatever the hell Generation Swine was, whatever the hell Dogs of War is.
If I was their record producer, I would say, look, guys, for the next 2 weeks, you're only going to listen to your debut, Shout at the Devil, those two. And you're going to listen to those and you're going to try to put yourself in that mind frame. Now, you don't have to try to copy, but what was going through your head? When you were writing those albums. And so listen to those, and then now, like, let's come in and just do what comes naturally and push current trends out of your fucking head. So
yeah, I also expand on that and listen to the albums you guys grew up with that inspired you to write those first two albums.
Right.
Again, I get they're not 20 anymore. I understand that, but I mean, I don't know what they're doing.
But like, okay, I'm 51, and I feel like, I mean, I've never been in a band, but if I was in a band, I feel like I could go, hey, you know what? I could try to create something that I grew up on. I love Motley Crue. So I feel like I could do that. Now, if you're the fucking guy in Motley Crue, like, you should be the most qualified person in the world to sound like fucking Motley Crue.
Exactly.
And I'm getting pissed. I need to calm down.
I know. No, he's up there. God, don't need you having a heart attack on your own show.
All right.
But yeah, you're right. It's like, yeah, if anyone is qualified to write old Crue shit, it's them. I mean,
yeah.
But again, I get it. You're not 19. You're not pissing vinegar and all out, like you used to. But God damn.
But I said this before. How come evolving always means you're trying to sound like fucking Godsmack or something from the late 90s? It's eerie how often that is what evolving means. And I mean that with a lot of bands. It's always that down-tuned guitar shit.
Yeah. We're going to evolve. Our band's going to evolve by playing music that was popular 25 years ago.
Yeah.
But what? I don't get that. It's not evolving.
So if you want to try to come up with some new spin, hey, great. But don't tell me you're evolving when you sound like shit that I heard, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I'm done with that.
The rant over.
My blood pressure up, and so
okay. We got two.
Door number two.
I'm gonna go with an album everybody was waiting forever to come out, and it got so bad that Dr. Pepper even offered everyone in the country a free soda if this got released in the year it came out, and it did, which is the only positive I think of this album. That's Guns N' Roses' Chinese Democracy. And I tried to listen to this for this show, and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I mean, a couple of songs I at the time I thought were decent. The title track and Shackler's Revenge, Shackler's Revenge. But even listening to it now, I'm like, it doesn't hold up. It just doesn't hold up. I think part of the problem is it was a Guns N' Roses. It wasn't a Guns N' Roses album. It was an Axl Rose solo project. They had an army of guitarists working on this album. Like one Buckethead's in it, and it's some other guy, and then Buckethead's back, and it's all over the place. And yeah, a lot of those songs what's the song? Scrapped, when Axl starts off by just screeching. What is that? What are you doing? Because there was no at that point, there was no one to tell Axl, hey, cut the shit.
No.
Knock it off.
Exactly.
And it was just, a bunch of guys. Just he kept switching out and hiring whoever. And then you got this. He didn't have the writing partner of Izzy Stradlin. That was the first thing that really, I think that's the real hit right there. That made this album crappy. And him to do this on his own, it just didn't work. I mean, not for nothing. That's the only album of original material since Izzy left.
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you doing? You said on when you reviewed no, last one you're talking about them getting back together and making another album. I want to see all of them back. I mean, if it's just 3 out of the original 5, why? Whatever. I mean, but I would love to see Steven Adler is still he's still playing.
Yeah.
A thing's so shitty that you can't talk to him anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't know what Izzy's doing. I respect if he's like, fuck it, I'm not going back to this band. I'm done and did that, been there. I'm moving on in my life. I'm evolving like all these bands. But yeah, this one, oh God, what a disappointment. You put it in and you're just like, what am I listening to? This is not, I won't even say it's not Appetite for Destruction. It's not even Use Your Illusion. And it's not even close to that. What's that crappy, the covers one, Spaghetti Incident. Like, it's just,
Yeah, I'll be honest. I like the Spaghetti Incident.
Do you? Okay. All right.
I like
someone just said on X, what's your favorite song on this album? And I go, what's the one? Down the Farm, I don't mind.
Yeah. And
then I said, I forgot this album even existed. And then when I remembered, I forced myself to forget it again because I like to deal with that. It's like, why put out an album of just covers? You're one of the biggest bands in the world and you're doing a covers album. Like,
but that's a terrible title. The record company is like, fuck, you guys are on fire. Anything you put out is going to sell. Hey, we don't have time to write a bunch of albums, but we kind of like punk rock. Here, let's throw that. And punk rock is easy to cover,
When that came out like 95, didn't it?
93.
93. Get out of here. I think it was that soon after the Use Your Illusion albums. Wow.
Yep.
And they waited another 16 whatever years until the next.
I mean, I remember, so shit. It came out in 2008, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I remember shit, and it started around 97, 98. People were saying any day now or any year now. Here it comes. Fuck, what's it called? Fucking Chinese Democracy. So any year, and we're like, Axel's perfecting it. He's tweaking it. And so you're like, man, he's putting millions of dollars in studio time. So you're thinking, whatever, when this thing comes out, it's going to be amazing because he is not letting any of these songs. And then it comes and you're like, holy shit. I bought it on CD in Arizona. My parents lived there for a couple of years, went and visited, went into a Best Buy, bought it, had a CD player in my rental car. And I was like, I just kept waiting for, there's got to be something on here that grabs me, right? And there's a couple, now I can't even remember, but there was a couple songs where you're like, it's not horse shit. But if the best thing you can say about an album is, or a song is, it's not horse shit, then it's kind of a fucked up album. So
yeah,
but you're right. Like they haven't put out shit. Appetite, Lies. Oh, there's fucking bubbles, man.
Hey, how do you do that? What the hell?
When I was a kid, if we wanted bubbles, we had to fart in the tub. But so Appetite, Lies is not a real GNR album. It's like
no
shit. Then you get your To Use Your Illusions. Then you get a covers album. Then you get a couple odd songs, and you finally get Chinese Democracy. So in the grand scheme of stuff, their output is small.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're still living off Appetite. So
I mean, not for nothing. Appetite's one of those albums that bands would kill to write and make big on.
All right. So my number 2 comes from one of my favorite bands of this genre, and everybody was super pumped for this album because their first 2 albums are still universally like loved in hair metal circles. I'm talking about Cinderella. I'm talking about 1990s Heartbreak Station. Now, I'll say this. It's not that it's horrible. I like some songs on this album. But if most fans, I think, got into Cinderella, you were loving those catchy guitar riffs, Shake Me, Somebody Save Me, great ballad, Nobody's Fool. Then I mean, Gypsy Road off Long Cold Winter, Take Me Back was a song you've talked about. Falling Apart at the Seams, Bad Seamstress Blues, phenomenal hard rock shit. And then you get Heartbreak Station in 1990, and like everybody is jacked for this thing, and you get like a bunch of country sounding stuff, a bunch of blues sounding stuff. I remember, so the first single, shit, Shelter Me. Now I like the song Shelter Me. I remember thinking, oh, I'm kind of liking this, but I'm also like, there's horns and shit, and I'm like, I like this, but what the fuck are you doing? Because this is way left in left field of what you've been doing in the past. So the title track, Heartbreak Station, is a good acoustic ballad. Shelter Me is decent, even though it's got horns, and I fucking hate horns. There's, I think, there's one real rock song that's later on in the album. It's not Hot and
Not Love Going Bad.
no, shit, I'll have to find it. But anyway, there was like one, yeah, you find it. There was like
Yeah, you talk. You go ahead.
there was like
You
one
got this.
song on there that was reminiscent of, and we've hit this before. Yes, bands have to grow. I've had people tell me, well, that's where their influences were, and that's how they truly wanted to be as a band. Well, you didn't feel the need to inundate us with that shit in the first two albums. You know, I didn't mind what they did on Long Cold Winter. They threw in a Long Cold Winter, a major blues song that I hated, but they gave me enough of the shit that was reminiscent of what you heard on Night Songs to where I still love the album. So I understand a little bit of that, but Heartbreak Station really was overloaded with this new sound, and it went platinum, but the first two albums went triple platinum, so you could tell a lot of fans were disappointed in it.
Yes, let's see here. All right. So you had, I'll just run down. One More Things Change. I kind of like that song.
That was a good song.
Yeah. Love's Got Me Doing Time.
Shit.
Shelter Me was the first single, right?
Yep.
That was one with Little Richard in the video. They had to save rock and roll through a telethon.
Yep.
And then there was the title track, Sick for the Cure.
Shit.
One for Rock and Roll.
Which is basically a country song.
Yeah.
It was kind of catchy. If you like country, you would probably, but it was not what you were expecting from Cinderella.
Yeah, so there's Dead Man's Road.
Shit.
Make Your Own Way.
Decent.
Electric Love, is that the one you're thinking of?
No, it's The More Things Change is the one I was thinking of.
Okay.
Yep.
See, a lot of these songs were man. I like Love Gone Bad. I think that's a good one. That's my personal opinion. But yeah, a lot of this was just like, it wasn't just the blues stuff. It was like, it wasn't that great.
No.
I mean, again, yeah, some songs were decent, but again, if the best thing you can say about it that the songs are decent, it's not a great album. Sorry, it's the way it is. And yeah, they decided to go all blues for some reason. Yep. I remember getting that too on CD, going, what is this?
Yeah.
I think that kind of held me off from getting Still Climbing. I didn't get that when it came out.
Yep.
I waited years and years later. And I'm like, oh shit, why didn't they have this come out as a third album?
Right. Still Climbing was a return to form. I think they heard people going, what are you doing? So here's my thought on that album as well. Okay. And it's in the grand scheme of hair metal. Poison had 3 albums that went at least double platinum, triple platinum. 3. Poison these days can still play big halls, and you know they wound up on the stadium tour. Now, other bands like Warrant and Cinderella, their first 2 albums went double platinum or maybe triple, but then their third album was kind of like, okay, it was kind of a letdown. I feel like if Cinderella had put out a strong natural continuation to Long Cold Winter that sold 2 or 3 million copies, I feel like we'd be talking about Cinderella being right alongside Poison. But because Heartbreak Station was kind of a disappointment, Cinderella, when they got back together in 1998, they were playing clubs, and I love Cinderella. But that album, if it had done what it should have done, because in 1990, bands like Warrant and Poison were still selling millions. If that album had done what it would have done, I think we'd be talking differently about Cinderella in the context of hair metal bands. And they're still one of my favorite bands of all time. I was gonna say that, hey, bands are free to grow. You're free to do whatever you want. Like sometimes people will, hop in, not necessarily on my YouTube comments, but just people will say, well, fuck, a band's gotta grow and they gotta do what they want to do. That's right. But we don't have to go with them. And generally I stick with bands that were very important to me. But if you're gonna keep, like, for example, Bon Jovi, I think the last Bon Jovi album I bought was the one after Bounce, the one that had It's My Life. And then they started doing all the Bruce Springsteen shit. And I was like, you know what? I'm done at a certain point. So, a lot of fans were like, hey, I love Cinderella, but this is not what I signed up for. So I'm out. And you can't blame fans. You can't just say, oh, well, I'm just going to buy everything. Like, bands have a responsibility to maybe their fans and themselves, but fans don't have a responsibility to buy shit. They don't. So,
and I would much rather I'd rather listen to Cinderella's evolution, quote unquote, than Motley Crue's evolution to that fucking cup of diarrhea. But the funny thing is, if you listen to this, if you're still tuning in, folks, we're sitting here saying how the bands that evolve, they should stop, do the old stuff. Then we talked about Def Leppard doing the same stuff they did in the previous album. Like, what are you doing? You guys are involved. You're not watching this show for consistency, folks.
That's right. But here's what when it started getting into the grunge thing, what I wanted the hair metal bands to do as far as growing was to lyrically grow. I mean, we don't have to do all the sex stuff and everything being about partying. Like, you can have some deeper lyrics, and bands like Warrant and Lillian Axe did that. So it was like, yes, grow, mature lyrically and musically, but like an album like Dog Eat Dog to me was the perfect progression. Def Leppard was still writing Make Love Like a Man. So that's the difference, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Where you could grow and have it make sense to the fans who'd been there before, Dog Eat Dog, and then you could grow Motley Crue and completely abandon your sound, and that's where they lost me.
But I also think, especially at that time, it's desperation to try to stay relevant, which I get too. I mean, you got to butter your bread somehow, and whatever's popular, you think that's going to work. I don't think anyone at the time was saying, hey, look, you're Warrant, you're not Nirvana. No one's going to buy your stuff. I remember, God, was it maybe 15, 20 years ago? I forget the name of the song. If anyone can know this one, put it in the comments. I've been trying to find this one and what the album was by the Bullet Boys. And he was on, Mr. Guru knows it all. And he was on, what's his face? Mark Turenne was on Eddie Trunk's show. I can't remember the year now. It's been so long.
10 Cent Billionaire?
What's that?
10 Cent Billionaire? Are you trying to think of the album or a song?
The song, because they said, oh, here's the new single, and they played the song, which I thought was good. Yep. But and Eddie Trunk said to Mark Turenne, why did you go under the name Bullet Boys? This song would be huge if you changed your name, because now you got Bullet Boys, you got the label as an 80s rock band, the hair band thing's going to be stuck with you. It's not going to do that well. And he was like, well, that's who we are. We're not going to change our name just to, to sell albums. That makes no sense. And it's that kind of thing where I think some of these bands, regardless of how they evolved, how good the albums were, they got this label put on them, like, you're old news. It's 1993, 94. Grunge is in. That's what the kids want. MTV pushed that shit too, because they were like, we're not playing your videos anymore.
Yeah.
And they couldn't, they weren't going to do anything. They didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
They didn't have a snowball of hell, a chance in hell to even get anywhere, because Winger is from 1988. Nirvana is from 1991. The end. And then, yeah, like you said, the Pull album, great album, wasn't going to sell. Yep. Dog Eat Dog, because Who Made It, wasn't going to sell. Lillian Axe, I mean, they're really big to begin with, but Psycho Schizophrenia wasn't going to sell because this stuff already was put in a genre that MTV and younger people said, all right, that's all. We don't want to hear that anymore.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's one of the reasons that killed it. I mean, to say it was just grunge, it was a big part of it, but yeah, it was that attitude too of, we're done with this, move on.
Every genre ends. Disco ended, new metal ended, grunge ended, hair metal ended. And hair metal had a longer run than almost any one of those genres, because personally I thought it was better. It was catchy, it was fun. Even fucking teenagers now are listening to that shit. But
yeah,
about, like, I don't think, because you hear that all the time. Oh, well, you should have changed the name of the band. It is so, not that I have personal experience, but to start a band from the bottom floor, a new name. I mean, like, Phil Collin put out an album called Man Rays. How many people knew about that? Right. Very few. But if he puts out an album with Def Leppard, everybody knows. How many people were going to go see the Man Rays tour? 50, 20? How many?
Yeah.
So, like, even, people said Motley Crue should have changed with John Corabi, and that tour didn't do great. But if they went out as Toxic Vomit instead of Motley Crue, barely anybody was going to go see it. So, and you said bands they got families to feed, they got people to provide for, and you're not even Bullet Boys. A few hundred people are going to go see the Bullet Boys. If they they put out an album called like Acid Monkey, or I can't remember.
Yes. Yeah.
If they had changed, how many people were going to go? They were going to have to build them.
That's true.
So it's.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. No one's going to see, Motley Crue with John Corabi. Oh, playing tonight at your local stadium. Mama told me not to come, and everyone's going to show up to see them, So I get that too. I totally get that too.
That's a solid band name, though. I'll be honest.
Right.
Okay.
The next one then.
All right. We are on to your number one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I think a lot of people might agree with this one. This is Skid Row's Subhuman Race from 1995. Slave to the Grind, an amazing album. People to this day have nothing but good things to say about it. And no one brings up the follow-up, 4 years later? 4 years later, I don't know what they were doing on this. It just didn't work for me. I remember getting it when it came out on cassette, because I'm an old fuck, and listening to it going, what is this? Where's the Quicksand Jesus and Monkey Business and Wasted Time? Well, no, nothing. And I want to say it was a few years later, let me try this again. No, it just doesn't work. I mean, a couple of songs like Beat Yourself Blind, Eileen, and Frozen, I think, are decent songs, but they weren't good enough to carry the rest of this album. It was, what are you guys doing? And the sad thing was, this is the last time they had Sebastian Bach singing for them, this thing. And it just was not, if they, again, the evolution and evolving stuff, if they kind of tried to stick with where Slave to the Grind was and maybe go from there, they could have had a better album. But they were trying something different, trying to be relevant again, go with what was going on at the time, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work at all for me.
I thought they went really down-tuned. They had toured with Pantera on the slate, so there was obviously some of that influence. I thought on Slave to the Grind, the title track, and a song like Riot Act, I really loved. They were kind of more punky,
Yeah.
but metal I thought that was where they should have gone. And shit, this is 95. In 94, Green Day, not that I wanted Skid Row to try to be Green Day, but to have a punk influenced sound in 94 wasn't, or in 95 wasn't the worst thing in the world. But that, like you said, you try to listen to it recently, that album and like Van Halen's 3, I bet
Yeah.
once a year I pop those things in and I go, you know what? You're gonna find a fucking song or something on here that you missed before, and it never fucking happens. I do
Mm.
the ballad breaking down what I do like that song, but as far as like rock songs, Eileen I kind of like. Into Another was, not horrible, but not horrible. If that's the best you can say, then
Yeah.
you went the wrong direction. So I'm completely with you because I worship the first 2 albums. I love the debut album, and I've said Slave is my favorite Skid Row album, but I love the debut. And what the fuck? And I think the band acknowledged, like Rachel Bolan hates fucking Subhuman Race. So here I'll mention one of my followers, Patrick Reeves. I'm gonna respond to your comment because he was like, he said in a comment, I'm surprised that the guru doesn't love Subhuman Race, and it's so fucking heavy, so heavy. I just can't. Like I like have like I like
It's
old Metallica. I think Slave to the Grind is a heavy song. This is heavy for the sake of being heavy, and it lost me.
yeah, it's not good heavy. It
No,
just I don't know what it is. It doesn't work. Like
no,
you said, like yeah, a few songs from Slave of the Grind had that punk sound to it.
yeah,
Um, yeah, a lot of those songs had a heavier. Again, they toured with Pantera. They were doing something along those lines. This one, I don't even think it's heavy in the terms of. Maybe they're. It's almost like they were trying to do Pantera light, but not
yeah,
the heavy, thrashier,
yeah.
faster songs. You know, and it just again for me, these songs didn't work.
No.
And you're right. Just saying a song doesn't totally suck doesn't mean it's gonna make the album a good thing. It just isn't, you know.
And shit, they had Bob Rock produced that thing. I mean, Bob
Mhm.
Rock produced the Black Album, Dr. Feelgood, but I just did Ian Scotto and I talked about Lizzie Hale being in Skid Row, and we kind of talked about, will the Sebastian Bach Skid Row reunion ever happen, all this shit. But even in 91 on the Slave tour, Sebastian had his own bus. So as early as that, they were starting to have problems. I mean, why did Subhuman take 4 years after Slave? Because they were like, fuck, this guy is like driving us nuts. And I'm sure a lot of
Mhm.
it was he was the face of the band. To most fans, Sebastian was Skid Row. And Snake and Rachel are like, fuck, we wrote all those songs. Like, we want some credit too. So I don't think it's all Sebastian's fault, but you know, so I doubt they were all in a room going, all right, guys, we're working together, we're cranking out this album. I bet that recording process was just a shit show. And they
But
didn't tour
also,
America. They did some dates overseas, and then in '96 they kicked Sebastian out of the band.
yeah, and it's got to be said that Sebastian was a problem too.
Oh, shit.
I mean, it wasn't like, oh, we just couldn't stand each other. I'm sure, like, oh shit, he's talking shit to the metal magazines again, or he's doing something goofy and stupid, or he's on the like, it's like what he was on. I don't remember the Ricky Lake show. He was on that show saying how pot should be legal. You're not bad if you smoke pot. Like what are you doing? Like who gives a fuck what you do
Well,
in your free time?
the
It's
AIDS kills fags dead show.
oh god, that
Throwing
oh
throwing the
my
bottle
god,
in throwing the bottle. I think it was in Springfield or in '89 and hitting that
yeah.
girl and then John Bon Jovi basically helped give them their shot, and he shit all over John Bon Jovi at the end of that tour.
Oh, it's
You
just so
know,
much
I mean,
shit.
yeah.
I'm
So,
sure that had, I mean, it was, when you're making money for them, they're probably like, all right, we'll put up with it. But there's got to be a point where
yep.
this guy's an asshole. The album's not selling, and we don't want to deal with this bullshit anymore. And I'm sure there had been moments. I mean, you don't just start touring on a tour bus out of the blue. That had been a time when they just it blew up and they were just yelling at each other like,
Yeah.
"Get out of my face!" or "I'm gonna break your nose with my guitar," kind of thing, or "I'm gonna choke you with my bass strings." Cut the shit, all that crap. And they're probably like, you know what? Put him on the bus. We won't deal with it. And he was probably like, "Yeah, fuck the rest of the band. I'm the star of this band. I get my own, but whatever the hell."
Yeah.
And yeah, when they said let's get rid of him, they probably had this huge weight lifted off their shoulders. Where like, hey, we don't have to deal with Sebastian Bach anymore. Then you fast forward to 2024, they're on vocalist number 328, still trying to figure shit out.
But even now, like on social media and shit, I still will be like, Sebastian, what the fuck are you doing? Just shut up and play your, but he'll still be like annoying. So I'm like, shit, I still understand why they don't, they're like, no, he's still on 100 all the time, and and you're like,
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah. I'm sure, like, just tone it down, chill out for it.
Right.
Give us a week to breathe here. And then, but now, you're right. Constantly at 11, just going crazy. Couldn't imagine dealing with that.
Okay.
And now you have to be in the studio and write with them. I can't imagine that.
Just shit on. Okay. And he blocked me on X, but I bought the new Child Within the Man. It is really good.
Yeah.
So now that I kind of said some bad things about him, let me say that. And in 89, 90, 91, man, that guy was a front man that most bands were like, fuck, I wish our front man could be that way, because he could command a crowd like no other.
So, yeah, and that voice, unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And maybe that all went to his head. Who the hell knows? And his solo stuff is good.
Yeah.
Like you said, the new album is good. I think Angel Down is a fantastic album. What a great album that is.
Yep.
He had the one album, 98-ish, Bring Him Back Alive, which wasn't bad. Live stuff was really good on it. So he's done some decent stuff. Yeah, everyone's saying, oh, you should get back with him. This is the time. It's the moment. Everyone's getting old, dude, before you all drop dead. I don't know. Those old wounds were, they cut deep. You can't get over that shit.
Hell yes. Think about the whatever girl fucked you up back in the old day, and then somebody says, hey, it's 2024 right now. How about you hang out with her all the time? This girl that fucking ruined your life or broke your heart. And yeah, that sounds good. For an extra 50, 75 grand a year, I'd be like, fuck that. There ain't not enough money in the world.
So. Yeah, I was thinking almost along the same lines. You get married to someone, the first few years are great. You have a couple of kids, and then it just goes to shit. And you're not going to sit there and go, let's get back together because those first 2 years are really good. No, you're going to be like, no, the last 7 were just miserable and I couldn't wait to get out. Yeah. I'm not doing that again. I'm sure it's the same thing with these guys. And there's still, it hasn't stopped. That's the thing. It really hasn't stopped where it was like, they tried to make amends or, Sebastian Bach apologized. I don't know. I don't think any of that stuff ever happened and never will.
No.
So, yeah, I think that's just a pipe dream everyone's hoping for. So you had someone, I forget what show we did. Someone came up with a pretty interesting suggestion: have him lead Badlands and have
yeah.
That's
about in the comments.
Yeah.
Yep.
I even said that. That's an interesting idea right there.
With Sebastian singing, that's a good fucking idea.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm gonna say this because it's the same thing with Nikki. What's her name? Lizzie Hale, where the voice isn't the same and it's not going to sound the same because Lizzie's trying. I think she's good at singing these songs. I think sometimes she's trying to emulate Sebastian Bach and it really doesn't. I don't think it works. Do your own thing. It would be good. I think the same thing with Sebastian Bach singing for Badlands. You're not going to be Ray Gillen. you can try, and it's going to sound like you're trying to sound like. I don't think the voice would work because we're used to those old albums the way they sound.
Yeah.
Every time you see a new singer for Skid Row, what do you click on? The songs you know already. Does it sound like Sebastian Bach?
I thought Eric Gronwall's voice fit because
Yeah, he was pretty good.
He can sing the hearts. What they got to do, I mean, and I'm assuming they're not going to get back together with Sebastian. I'm sure Lizzie Hale is not going to be their permanent singer. Go out and find some young kid because you're going to need somebody young to hit those notes. Old people are not going to hit those notes.
Exactly.
Find some young kid, and then you won't have to pay him a bunch, Snake and Rachel. You know, you'll be able to take most of the money because he'll just be happy to be there and find a young kid and take him out on the road. Okay.
Yeah, pull a journey on that. Have a few beers, get drunk, see a dude singing your songs on YouTube and call him up. Someone from the Philippines can do it. Something.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not going to be someone who's 62. No.
Okay. Down to my number one. I don't know if this, I think it's going to be controversial because we're talking about the band that was the biggest band in the world at that time and is still one of the biggest rock bands around. But I think these albums, they may have been the most anticipated albums in rock history because this band's debut album is the highest selling debut album in rock history. And I'm talking about Guns N' Roses. Appetite for Destruction shot that band higher than any band could have ever dreamed. It came out in 87. In 89, it was still 2 years later, it was still in the top 5 on Billboard. So when the Use Your Illusions come out in 1991, even in little old Fargo, North Dakota, where I am, the record stores opened at midnight for people to buy these 2 albums. So it was immense. MTV was covering it. It was holy fuck. So now that I've built it up, I honestly think they are a disappointment. And you and I have both said, I think, if you make one album out of the Use Your Illusion albums, you have a very, very good, not Appetite like, but a very good album. But you put out 2 albums. So here, I got Use Your Illusion 1. I'm looking at all the songs. You got Don't Cry was a hit. Okay, that's a good ballad. Live and Let Die was a cover. And I know songs don't have to be hits. But what I'm looking for here is what are the rock songs that I love, that I think are awesome? And really, The Garden was okay. Back Off Bitch was okay. Really nothing. And then you go to Use Your Illusion 2. Okay. Yesterday's was a good song. Estranged was a good song. You Could Be Mine is finally, to me, like the first real rock song that I was like, shit, I still would play that song. Knocking on Heaven's Door was a cover. So then I'm not going to go through all the songs because there is so much filler on those 2 things. So, I mean, I bought it when it first came out because I'm like, fuck, man, the band that made Appetite for Destruction, one of my favorite albums ever. But I can't help but, and I know they went 7 times platinum, and some people are like, fuck, Guns N' Roses can do no wrong. But I think those albums are a disappointment. There, I said it.
Yeah. I agree with that. If they trimmed it down to, I don't know, 12 song album, it would have been solid. Shit. But you're right. It's a lot of songs that are just like, why? Because one of the songs you mentioned, You Could Be Mine, that was already released in the Terminator 2 soundtrack. So that wasn't even a new song. Right. They had 2 versions of Don't Cry for some reason. I have no idea why.
And Don't Cry was written in like 86. That was performed before Appetite. And Axl was like, I'm going to save this one for the next album. So.
But then you had, what was the one cover you said? Live and Let Die cover. Knocking on Heaven's Door, I think I don't like that version. What was the good version was when they had that show at the Ritz that was on MTV. That was big when it came out, and that was a great version. And then they said, well, let's add background singers and all this other shit, and it was like, this stinks. Civil War was released previously, and you're right, a lot of the songs on one are just like, it's there. I would say maybe a handful of songs are really good, and I think except for except for Live and Let Die, which was a cover, I think all the singles were ballad or slower paced songs.
Yeah.
Like, why? What is this? But I remember getting that. You're right. When that album came out, it was an event. You don't see that anymore.
No.
People lined up in front of music stores to get that thing. Like I said, they opened up at 12 at midnight. I remember when it came out, everyone was buying this thing. I was in college at the time, and you would go to a bar and the jukebox had both of them. People were pumping money in that thing to play songs from it and everything. You look over each other like, yeah, this is a good one. But over time, you're just like, yes, a lot of those songs, no, it just doesn't. Why?
Even like when I first got it, and you're like, fuck, I'm gonna be listening to these things back to front. You know, you're listening to it a couple times, and I'm like, you got to listen to an album 4 or 5 times before you really know it. So I was playing the shit out of them, but I just kept going. Okay, you know, maybe on the 3rd listen, a couple more songs will grab me. Maybe on the 4th, like, and they just kept going like, oh, okay. I mean, yeah, there's some good songs, but you're talking about how many, 28, 27 songs off 2 albums? And there was like so much shit that you're like, nope, not that one, not that one. Okay, there's a good one. Not that one, not that one, not that one. Oh, there's a good one. I mean, I was like, and you know, back then you didn't want to come out and say, yeah, I don't like, yeah, you're like Guns N' Roses, fucking A, all right. But on the inside, I'm like, guys, is there anybody else thinking what I'm thinking? Like the same?
Yeah. Especially on the first one, like from the middle towards the end, there's a lot of songs in there. They all kind of blend together. They sound the same. Some are just like, I don't know why this is here. And yeah, it was just like, why? I don't understand why. For me personally, I think I might get shit for this. I think the Use Your Illusion 1 is a stronger album, but even then, it's bloated. It's just bloated. And for some reason, Use Your Illusion 2 sold more copies than the first one. I don't know why or why that even worked that way. But to me, this is the Guns N' Roses version of Brandon, that My World song at the end of Use Your Illusion 2. What the fuck is that? What are you doing? I don't know why. In 91, all these bands were doing some kind of shitty 1.5-minute rap song for some fucking reason. And it was just, to close out those 2 albums with that was kind of like the sign, like, hey, look, dummy, this ain't that good. And yeah, looking back at it, a lot of it I would skip. I'd skip a lot of both those albums.
In 93, I that's when I joined the Guard, and Guns N' Roses played the Fargo Dome in Fargo, and their security team came to a Guard drill because they were like, we want extra security, you know, so we need people to. So I was like, shit, yeah, I'll go watch Guns N' Roses for free. But you see them in concert, and I say this about it now. Instead of 2 guitars, bass, and drums, there's backup singers and congo players and keyboard players, and you're like, guys, everyone fell in love with the 5 people in Guns N' Roses. Now I get like, hey, you probably need a keyboard player and somebody who can sing a little bit, you know, that, but now there's like 8, 9 people on the stage, and to me that's how their music sounds now too.
Yeah, the base of the album, like we said before, they didn't have much of a repertoire, and this is kind of the end of it. And then we had, like I brought before, Chinese Democracy, and that's pretty much all the new stuff we got from these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they're riding the coattails of that debut, but what a fucking debut that was.
Amen.
Never did it again. They never copied it. Never redid that one.
Yep.
Couldn't do it.
All right. Hey, thanks for hanging with us, Bryan. Been awesome having you on to talk about hair metal's disappointing albums.
Been a pleasure. Well, the disappointing part, not as much a pleasure, but being here definitely is. Real quick, congratulations on 2,000 subscribers again. You can catch my show on Stationhead. Download the app. Put in at Hairband. No, that's my ex. Put Hairband Basement. You can hear live shows on Fridays and Saturdays. Every other week I switch, and you can listen to all my older shows because I record them all. And you can find me on X at HB Basement. I get my shit right before I fuck it up. But thank you for having me on again.
Like, subscribe, comment. Would love it if you do. Until the next episode comes out, take care.